Thank you, 31.
High up in the hills of New Hampshire, where the tallest mountains in the east rise majestically towards crisp blue New England skies, lies a century-old stretch of railroad track winding its way down through the Mount Washington Valley, its rails kept alive by the small, hard-working, and wonderful Conway Scenic Railroad, nestled in the valley below. Located in the quaint village of North Conway, New Hampshire, on the edge of the valley, this tourist railroad continues the tradition of train travel as if it were another era. People of all ages gather here to enjoy the hustle and bustle of railroading as it was years ago. Much has changed here since 1872, when these tracks were first put down. But some things will never change. It's the hard work and dedication of the men and women who make this railroad exist yesterday and today, and people like you who love trains and continue to be part of the excitement of the Conway Scenic Railroad. Conductors, dispatchers, and engineers are busy running passenger-filled trains up and down the track, keeping these rails polished and action-packed all with the same determination and enthusiasm that brought the railroads through this valley over 120 years ago. People behind the scene are also hard at work, like owner Russ Seabold, making sure everyone is enjoying the atmosphere at the Conway Scenic Railroad.
What we want to do is we want to continue doing what we are in terms of providing a site where there is preservation of a railroad. If they come here and they have a good time, I mean, they get value for their money, they get a train ride, they understand a little bit more about trains, they have an experience with a steam locomotive. You know, that's what we're here for.
Webster, the operations manager, keeps the trains running smoothly up to the platform day in and day out, particularly during some of the special events. Today, the railroad is having a birthday. Every year, riders and crew have some extra fun by running extra trains to celebrate August the 4th, 1974, the day the Conway Scenic Railroad was born. All aboard! Rusted rails on this stretch of track are a thing of the past.
The tracks were laid down in 1872 as part of the Portsmouth, Great Falls and Conway Railroad. Passenger service ended in December 1961. Up until that time, you still had the ability to board the train here in North Conway, head down the branch to Rollinsford, New Hampshire, join the main line to Portland, and go right into Boston's North Station.
Today, the ride ends here in Conway, 5.5 miles south of the Conway Scenic's main terminal. Here you can get out, look around, and imagine what it was like years ago when students attending nearby Kennett High School were dropped off by the B&M passenger trains in much the same manner. After 10:55 runs around the train, it's time to head back to North Conway, catching some magnificent views along the way, like the Moat Range or Cathedral Edge, where rock climbers from around the country challenge the steep and dangerous cliff. Pulling its cars up one of the steepest grades in the east, 1055 works hard. But the 3.2% grade is no match for this 124-ton Alco. 1055 is a 1950 S4 diesel. This 1,000 horsepower engine originally worked for the Portland Terminal Company and is now Conway Scenic's #1 diesel, pulling more trains each season than any of the other 3 operating locomotives on the Conway Scenic roster. Now fully restored, 1055 runs around the train for another scheduled departure in front of the magnificent North Conway Railroad Station.
The station was built in 1874 and today remains pretty much as it was then. The terminal area is on the National Register of Historic Places and is one of the few original complete terminal areas still existing in the country with its original buildings.
That is one of the special elements of this railroad, the fact that all the buildings are original, right down to the air-driven turntable, which can spin any 100-ton locomotive right in front of the roundhouse. Today, inside this 4-stall facility, boiler crews are hard at work inside the steam locomotive 7470, Conway Scenic's flagship. Maintained its own motive power in much the same fashion here inside this engine house. For 82 years, this was a familiar sight inside and out, In the beginning, business was good for the B&M. During the 1950s, however, automobile travel eroded passenger counts to the point where the B&M could no longer afford to run scheduled passenger service. Over the next 20 years, freight service declined, and the B&M abandoned portions of the Conway branch. Finally, on Halloween morning, October the 31st, 1972, a diesel switcher, pulling only a caboose, headed south through the cold rain. People watching felt they would never see an engine in Boston and Maine colors ride these rails again. Little did they know. For a number of years now, the Conway Scenic Railroad has hosted the Boston and Maine Railroad Historical Society's annual B&M Day, a day to pay tribute to the once mighty B&M Railroad. On the second Saturday in August every year, folks gather to relive the grand era when the Boston and Maine Railroad provided train travel in and out of the Mount Washington Valley. Every summer, eager rail fans ride in these restored coaches, experiencing what it was like to be part of the B&M as it was over 30 years ago. One person who knows what it was like better than most of us is Rudy Hood, who was a B&M engineer for over 20 years. Rudy operated all kinds of motive power for the B&M and even operated the same engine during its heyday.
I started out in 48. Well, they had the old FTs, they call them, the earlier diesel, and the F2s and the F3s. The FDs, you had to have a fireman on. If you were a fireman, hey, if you're getting hot, you had to go back and throw in the fans. It wouldn't do it automatically like this one does.
Rudy feels right at home in 4266. This beautifully restored EMD F7, with its huge 16-cylinder, 1,500 horsepower engine, still can bring a thrill worth capturing on film as it runs by this group of B&M rail fans. On the rear of Mixed Extra 4266 is a red caboose packed with rail enthusiasts. And Roger Robar, who is riding in his own personal caboose, soaking up the age-old sounds of railroading.
I've always loved trains since I was a little kid. My father used to take me down to the railroad station to watch the trains come by. And this was back when they still had steam. That desire, that urge is still in there. This has been a fantasy of mine of owning a piece of real railroad equipment. So I jumped at the chance to buy into this caboose. There's so many good people that's involved in this hobby. It's all I can say is it's just the greatest.